Thank you, everyone, for coming to the 11th episode of the Die, Laugh, Love podcast. It is my privilege, honor, joy to sit with you in this way, coming together on a weekly basis for this spirit gallery. I see some familiar faces, people who have been here for episodes prior to this. I have 11 episodes now because last week's really long gallery session, due to the restrictions of my editing and recording software, had to be split up into two sessions. So you'll see episode 10 is in part one and part two, because I thought it was going to be great to just give everybody a reading. And that turned into a massive tapestry of readings. And I loved the way that happened because if you were there, you would have seen one person flowed into the next person, flowed into the next person, and it was a wonderful story. So I called it a tapestry of popcorn. I would invite everybody, if you haven't seen them, to go and watch the other episodes, because interestingly, this episode is piggybacking on something that had happened a few episodes ago. As I've mentioned, these sessions, these galleries, whether I'm doing them virtually or I'm doing them live, spirit is with me for a long time. I want to give you an example. Last night, I was in Newport, Vermont, doing a gallery reading, and I called it Gifts of the Medium because one of the things that has been happening to me is I will be getting information about gifts, physical, tangible evidence to bring to this gallery reading to show people, here, this is what your spirits want. And it's not just one gift, it is a group of gifts, a group of gifts. So the event kicked off where I had a father come through, and he had to have a toolbox for his daughter. He had to have a fishing t-shirt for his daughter. There were other items in that batch. The next one was another batch of gifts for a person. And I had the person come up out of the audience and speak to me and get their presents, their gifts. The third one was fascinating because for 2 weeks, I had a woman in my head. I had to get a fudge pan for somebody who had a peanut butter fudge recipe. I also had to get, interestingly, the day before, walking through the convenience store, I had to buy a Beanie Baby for this woman, and I didn't know why. I just had to buy it. The very interesting thing is that not only was it peanut butter fudge, I had to buy specifically Peter Pan peanut butter. I think everybody's familiar with that brand. So I had this group of gifts, and I said, you'll know who this is because you have to, in this recipe, use Peter Pan peanut butter. Now, I can't get that off the shelf here locally, so I had to order it on Amazon. And the woman who was sitting in the front row knew it was her because she said to me, and the rest of the audience, you know, my mom did not have a lot of money, but she always made sure to spend money on Peter Pan peanut butter. So that was really touching to me to have that experience. Touching, obviously, to that woman's daughter who was there as well. And again, that undeniable evidence. And I was thinking today how a person's life changes when they have undeniable evidence that spirit exists, interacts with us, that we carry on when we pass, that our loved ones carry on when we pass. And I think that is the sacred part of my role here, to help people see spirit exists. Spirit interacts with us. We carry on. Our loved ones carry on. I will say, though, that every time I step into this role, it's I won't say a risk or a challenge. It can be somewhat scary. Imagine this fellow having spirit in my head for 2 weeks, randomly walking through stores, getting gifts, getting items, and then I stand in front of an audience. That, with full transparency and my number one rule of no bullshit, can be somewhat frightening, absolutely frightening. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that, whether they're stepping into a classroom to teach children, whether they're stepping into an emergency room to help somebody who just was rushed in with an injury. I think that a lot of people, when they're called to walk in this world in a particular way, especially in regards to helping others, there's a certain level of fear that goes along with it. So again, that idea that courage is doing the scary thing even when we feel scared. I will say that that is something that is particularly true about the spiritual path. That when you step into spiritual development or interacting with spirit in any way, if you choose to evolve in a spiritual way, you will be challenged by spirit. You will be challenged by your ancestors. You will be challenged by higher spirits to grow. And how do we grow? Through challenges, whether those challenges come to us as people or circumstances or spiritual experiences. And when I said that this episode, episode number 11, was going to be challenging, I want you to remember, if you were there, for episode 8. The title of episode 8 turned into I Challenge You to Be Outlandish. Now, that was the episode where I channeled the Archangel Michael, where I had that angelic energy, and we were all dared and challenged to be outlandish, to be colorful, to live authentically, not from a place of fear, but authentically, to live our best and most unique expression in this world. To live in that way will always be a challenge, especially in the world that we have right now. To live your truth, to live authentically. I mean, I'm a gay man. I can relate that journey to that, absolutely. But I want to talk to you about why this episode, and remember, I've done group readings hundreds of times. Even today, I'm challenged with what I'm about to share with you. I've also noticed that when I'm prompted to do things like this, write books, host events, do this podcast, that spirit in their wonderfully, eminently wise way, they're guiding me, they're helping me grow, they're helping me learn. And through my experience, through the vulnerability that I bring to people in terms of like, hey, I'm just a guy figuring this out. If you've ever heard me talk about my story and figuring this out, I always talk about the science experiment that I ran. I had to run a science experiment to figure this out. And every single time I sit with somebody, it is a science experiment. That includes today. So last week when I sat down to produce episode 10 and split it up and chop it up and do all of that stuff, which I love. I love doing it all. I love coming up with the graphics and doing all the technical stuff. I immediately knew what this episode was going to be about. And I was very happy with the idea of it. And then I was challenged. I was immediately challenged by these wonderful angelic energies, these wonderful fairy energies that helped me. I was challenged. And I accept that challenge. So thinking about what I have to share with folks today and the outlandish stuff that I have to share with folks today, it is a challenge. And Josh, the guy that figures out how to do this as I go along, understood a couple days ago that I was being dared. Now, episode 8, I challenge you to be outlandish. I challenge you to live in strength and authenticity, brightness. That challenge is as much for me as it is for anybody else out there. So any of the wisdom that I get through this experience, any of the wisdom that I have through doing this work, I benefit from it as much as anybody else does, because at the end of the day, I'm nothing but a channel. I'm just a guy that has the chutzpah to stand in this place, wanting to figure it out and live to my greatest authenticity, hopefully setting an example for others to do the same. Now, what I knew last week when I sat down to produce that episode and what this episode was going to be about, this is an episode for pets. Last week, I knew that this was going to be an episode where I was not going to channel any humans, not any ex-humans. How about that? Because when we pass away, we're no longer human. We are ex-humans. When I pass away, I'm not going to be Josh anymore. I'm going to be the spirit that was once Josh. So I hear that and I receive that. I'm like, pets, excellent. There's no shortage of pets in the other world where we all go to that want to communicate back to us. And I will share with you something that is really important. And I've talked about this before, but I want to kind of remind folks about how this process works. Through my experience, and remember, take that for what it's worth, I have found that we humans, you and I, do something to our pets to bring them to a place of soul. So let me give you an example, and I'll use cats. And thank you to everybody who has sent me cards and notes and condolence gifts for the recent loss of one of our family members, because I'm a cat guy. All right. Thank you for that, for anybody who's out there and giving me kindness in that way. Take a feral cat. Okay. And this is where we're going to kind of get caught up in semantics. You take a feral cat, a cat that's out in the wild, wild cat, and it lives and it dies. Well, that cat has an energy. That cat has, by definition, a spirit. Now, that spirit, when that cat dies, it kind of recycles into the big earth battery because the earth is a spirit. The earth is a giant energy ball, if you will, and that constant process of living and dying and living and dying. You take a feral cat and it dies, it just kind of gets recycled back into the earth battery, for lack of a better way to put it. When you love a cat, when you love a dog, when you love a pet, you give it a sense of self, and you give it a sense of identity. You name it, and it can respond to that name. You do something to that spirit to evolve it into a soul. That's my experience. Just that's my experience. So you love something in that way and you evolve it. That's what happens through our relationship. And I've talked about that before, and I really distinctly believe that because I have channeled pets in the same way that I've channeled humans, because their consciousness, their energy, they have emotions, they have memories. They're our loved ones, and anybody that's ever had pets, boy, oh boy, they will tell you sometimes it's harder to lose our pets than it is our humans. And there's a degree of unconditional love there that makes that happen. Okay. Keep that in mind, please, because I knew that it was going to be about pets. And then the message got a little bit more strange. Because, yes, this is a pet episode, but it's not just pets. And this is where I am being personally challenged to be outlandish. Okay. So keep that in mind. That's your little preview as to what's to come, because I have had three spirits with me for the last week. And I want to talk to you about the first one. And remember, this is where the participatory part of this comes in. Okay. I am looking for a dog, the owner of a dog. The dog's name is Bear. The dog would have been put down, would have had digestive issues. The dog has been with me for a week at least. This energy of a dog named Bear, a real cuddle bug, has been with me and has this message for this owner. So the first thing that I need here is anybody with a dog named Bear. I know that is a very common name for dogs. I might have a couple of people step forth and unmute themselves, but I am looking for somebody here. I'm going to start to toggle between my screens for those folks who are listening. This is happening on Zoom. Anybody here have a dog named Bear? Please unmute yourself if you have. Wave your hand if it's you, because I can unmute you from my side. If anybody here has a dog in spirit named Bear, wave your hand and I can help unmute you. Okay. So, Randy, I'm going to ask to unmute you. Hi, thank you for joining us.
I got a little thrown off because I don't remember Bear having digestive issues.
Okay. Stomach problems, any sort of issues like that?
Um, he probably had some. He lived a long life. Um,
May I ask you, Randy, because this is what else I'm hearing. Was he a cuddle bug?
yes,
Like needed to be right up next to you?
yes,
Okay. The other part of this, and this is important, this animal would not have been accidentally brought to spirit. There would have been, I need to bring this animal and have this animal put down. Did you take this animal and bring it to put this animal down?
no, Bear died on his own.
Bear died on his own. Okay.
Yes, he passed away when we were putting him in the car to go to the emergency vet.
Got you. So on the way
Yes,
to possibly being put to sleep. Okay. So Randy, you hold on here. Anybody else have a dog named Bear that they had to put down? Again, this is a very common name. I get that. So I want to make sure.
A cat named Bear?
I get a dog.
Yeah. We had a cat named Bear put down 3 days ago.
You got a cat named Bear put down three
ooh,
days ago. Okay. Ooh, I heard bear and I thought dog. This could be a cat. Can I ask, was
could
this
be
cat a
cat.
cuddle bug? Randy
Yes.
and Pamela. Hi, Pamela. Hi, Randy. You stay with me here because I have to talk to you about this. Okay. This is really important. All right. This is 3 days ago. That might be a little bit more recent than like a
Yeah.
week ago. Can
Yeah.
I ask, for the both of you, and this is important, was there a sense of conflict in your journey?
Yeah.
And I know that there's going to be, you have to
Yeah.
have conflict when doing the necessary thing. Randy, were you experiencing conflict going to the emergency vet? Were you having the thought that this was going to be the last time this dog was going to be around?
Yes,
Okay.
but I didn't really have conflict about it. I felt that it had been coming and it was time.
Okay.
So maybe it
Thank you.
was Pamela's cat.
It might have been Pamela's cat. It might have been like I'm telling you, there's weird things that happen
Yeah.
here. Okay. What I'm getting from the spirit, and this is interesting. Would any of you know that the dad of this cat or dog? Because what I get is like this cat was
No.
just like their dad. Now, when I hear dad, that could be a
That's my
human dad. That
my
could be a
husband.
human dad. Was this cat just like the dad? This
He
could be physical. Now it's interesting because the other thing, I've had three spirits with me, one a bear, okay, a bear. And I go, no, I know that there's three, but why would I see like a bundle of like tiger striped cats like nested together? Okay, can I ask you, Pamela, was this cat a tiger of any sort? Did he have
a Maine
stripes?
Coon. A polydactyl
I mean,
Maine Coon.
a Maine Coon. Okay, so
Polydactyl.
I'm going to go with the cat thing, especially if you have a sense of conflict. Now, can I ask you, Pamela, and this is how we're going to determine this. And again, I'm going to let everybody know. Sometimes I will think somebody had a small dog like a Chihuahua or a Shih Tzu, but it's a small furry animal like a cat. Okay, so it's just small furry animal. Pamela, may I ask you, did Bear have digestive issues?
He had pancreatitis, so he wasn't eating.
There we are. Okay. So ding ding
And
ding, we have a winner. This is the
Yes.
digestive thing. So Randy, thank you for vocalizing that. And again, remember when I do this, when we come collectively to do this, the messages are for a specific person, but they are for everybody. Okay.
What?
Pamela, I'm going to mute you, Brandy, just for any sort of background noise. Pamela, may I ask you, um, being a Maine Coon, kind of very princely, do you know what I mean? Princely, like kind of like prance, prince, very proud. Was this cat very proud?
Yeah, I think he was very handsome and he knew it.
He was handsome and he knew it. Okay. So you and I are here. We're talking back and forth. It kind of moved us to spotlight. Okay. Um, may I also ask, I'm sure that this is the sensation of being pet I'm feeling, but anybody brush him? Did anybody ever brush him?
Yes,
Okay. So
I
I
did.
feel that.
Yeah,
Okay.
comb. Yeah,
Home. Okay.
yes, yeah,
Any reoccurring ear issues? Like the ears would go bad and then they
yeah,
get better and then they like a
yeah.
cycle of ear stuff.
He'd get, he would go into the bathroom, um, and drink out of the tub. And I think that it gave him some sort of ear infection that kept coming back, and we had to like lock him out of all the bathrooms.
Back and forth, ear thing. It would go, come and it would go, come and go. Okay, so that's this. All right. May I, this was a distinct family member. Yes,
Oh,
absolutely a
yes.
distinct family member.
We have,
So,
yeah.
can I ask you plans for cremation and any sort of plans for like cremation jewelry?
There is, yeah, he's being cremated.
And are you familiar? You're familiar with cremation jewelry, taking ashes, putting them in the jewelry, or turning the ashes
That
into
we
like
didn't
glass
do.
or what have you?
We didn't do that, but we had a paw print done.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Um, when I feel that connection to the dad, okay, was he more your husband's cat than yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can get him here.
No, well, no, you don't need. You just need to. I'm going to pass this message on to you for him, and you just be. This is a message for you in regards to your husband. Be mindful of his distractedness. Okay, like your husband's distractedness, forgetfulness. Okay,
Okay,
fish oil, mind stuff. Make sure that we're taking care of the mind. Don't let any sort of fogginess or forgetfulness or distractedness go unchecked.
okay.
Okay. So exercise the brain, crossword puzzles, be mindful of the mind. I'm getting, don't let him be distracted. Now, can I ask you, does your husband have a tendency to be like squirrely? Like, okay. So
No,
this is a message about, and no need, like, no need to frighten you. This is not what this is. Cognitive stuff, forgetfulness and
right. He seems to
distractedness.
be fine in that area.
That's why I'm saying be mindful of it. Just keep an eye out on it. Okay.
Okay,
A person of a certain age with forgetfulness or distractedness. It's interesting because it's like what I'm getting is turning something on the stove and then forgetting that we turned it on,
right.
that sort of thing. So does your husband take any sort of omega 3s?
No, I do.
You do? Okay. Time to get your husband on omega 3s. Okay.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
fish oil. But I'll tell you, it's interesting what I just got for in regards to that message. I thought it was cough syrup. It's not cough syrup. I think somebody was trying to tell me linseed oil or castor oil or oil. Like people used to take like oil, like a long time ago. People used to like take oil, right? And then
Castor oil.
castor oil. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to do that, but it's an interesting thing that I'm getting like omega 3s in that way. So this is just brain health. Okay, we get to a certain age. I mean, I
Hmm.
was messing around with my microphone prior to this, and I'm like, I cannot believe I can't see the small print on the back of the microphone because
Yeah,
I'm 45. So,
yeah.
eye stuff starts to go. I do have to stress to you, this isn't worrisome. This isn't like me saying, oh my gosh, she's going to get Alzheimer's or anything like
Okay.
that. Don't let the distractedness go unchecked, which means make sure that he's getting those omega-3s. And that's a good warning for everybody. Okay,
Okay.
that's a good warning for everybody. Fascinating. Okay. I was seeing like this cat wasn't an outdoor cat. Was he an outdoor cat? Okay.
No, indoor.
Indoor cat. Okay. I think he's bringing me back to the paw prints because I'm seeing paw prints in the snow. Okay. Meaning that be mindful of any sort of, do you have snow where you're at, Pamela?
Yes.
Okay. Be mindful of any sort of paw prints in the snow. So, for instance, if you're outside and you don't normally have cats of any sort outside, but you're outside and you see paw prints because a cat moved through the neighborhood or came by or what have you, it would be a visitation or a hello through that giant cat brain. Do you know what I mean? That giant cat spirit in that way.
His paws are very distinctive. He had 7 or 8 toes. He was a polydactyl.
Polydactyl, yeah. Okay, that's a big boy. All right, love that. So in your home, Pamela, may I ask, do you have an informal sort of altar to the dead where you have pictures of your ancestors and beloved dead? Okay. What I get is very much make sure that you put this member of your family up there
Oh,
in a
yes.
photo. Okay. So that's something that I'm doing with animal pictures as well. We have at our house a space for our beloved dead.
Yes.
That includes animals. Okay.
Yep.
That includes animals. Also, please, and this is information that I get, please don't you let any sort of neck, shoulder injury go unchecked. So, can I ask, do you have any sort of neck or shoulder thing?
I have a dowager's hump, but my husband has neck pain. He's going for an injection for the pain in
Okay,
March.
so this is him coming through with information about, okay, something that I want to, again, this is education because I want to let people know kind of how animals experience life. Okay, in terms of us and how they register our emotional well-being. They do register our physical well-being. This is why cats will get on us and purr. They're trying to make us feel better and heal us in that frequency way. I've channeled a cat prior, and this isn't applying to you, but this is an example of kind of how I want to relay and describe how they perceive us in this world. I channeled a cat once who loved the mom, loved the woman, but the woman was sort of in like this emotionally abusive relationship. And again, this doesn't apply to you. This is an example of how animals perceive us. So this cat would know every time the man raised the voice at this woman, the woman, her emotions would change. It was like the woman in her emotional display would shift and change into a different color. So let's say like blue was a peaceful color. If she was getting yelled at, she would kind of turn orangey or red. The cat was smart enough to go, okay, every time that son of a bitch raises his voice, my woman, my mom, turns a certain color, and I can tell that she's not happy. And that cat would consistently go and piss in the husband's boots.
Yeah.
Smell the husband, right?
Yeah.
Smell the husband. This is interesting. And I know that I'm going to relay this to a dog, okay? And fascinating, a Maine Coon is almost the size of a dog because they're so big.
He was big. Yeah.
Was there any frustration with the mailman? You ever have a mailman come up or package delivery people come up? Did this cat ever get like act like a dog?
No, no.
I think in that way, and again, remember, this is the pet episode. This is the pet talk where somebody, like somebody here, I think in that way, I'm supposed to illustrate how animals could perceive mailmen, delivery people coming to the door, seeing a different emotional or spiritual signature coming up and getting
Mhm.
heightened because it's a stranger. And those animals in that way are defensive or territorial. So super important for people to remember that. Um, Also, please be on the lookout, uh, Pamela, for uh, the feeling and the sensation of hopping up on the bed. Okay, like I feel like they hop up on the bed.
We have lost other cats, and I've felt them hop on the bed before. I mean, we have two cats left, but we've many that have passed. But we have felt that.
Whenever I connect to spirit, whether it's human spirit, animal spirit, what have you, love is love, and that's what brings them forth. They're always going to have this guidance here. So I've kind of talked to you about shoulder neck stuff for your husband, distractedness for him, get the omega 3s up, oils, fish oils, what have you. For you, please be mindful of your sight, okay? Like eyes,
Yep,
in terms of like cataracts, macular degeneration,
I have
glaucoma.
cataracts.
You have cataracts, okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
just be mindful of that. Give yourself all the healthy beta carotene and vitamin A and all those things that are good for eyes. Very, very important.
yep, and I see the doctor on a regular basis now. So
Excellent. So you're taking
er,
care of yourself.
yes, I am.
All right.
Yep.
The point of all of that is our loved ones, whether they're animals or humans, they're right here with us. They want for us what they wanted when they were with us: our peace, our balance, our health. In fact, because when we go to spirit, the capacity to feel our suffering deepens. So, like, I'll always use my gram as this example. My gram is with me. She's going to know what I'm thinking. She's going to know what I'm feeling. She's going to know what's in my heart. She's going to know what's in my body. When I take care of my mental and emotional and physical health, she doesn't have to worry. She's at peace. So, if I'm living in peace on all of those levels, my gram gets to rest in peace. That applies to our pets. So every single time we confront our heartache, our turmoil, our trauma, our pain, every time we step into a place of healing, this is the nature of relationship. This is the nature of relationship. When we take care of ourselves, we take care of the people and the animals that we love. Okay.
Hmm.
Knowing that this was the pet episode, knowing that I had a bear with digestive issues and conflict around all of that, you must know, Pamela, and I know that you get this rationally and logically, but you need the confirmation so the emotional part of you can heal. We should do our best to think of death as a graduation, a next step. I know a lot of us don't see that because we're so caught in this like this is the one life we have, and a lot of people think it's death and darkness when we die, and it's not that.
No, I know it isn't. I know
You
we'll see him
did,
again.
yes, you did, but you did the right thing for him in that way, where I had to take my cat Mister to the emergency vet, and we had to say goodbye to him there. I was in that place of course I'm a human, I have feelings, emotional conflict, but doing what I'm doing, I know because he knows his name and he knows that we loved him. I know that he's going to pass on and be there. And there's that sense of graduation. And knowing that we did the right thing was important, not just feeling it, but knowing and feeling it. So that's important for you and anybody else that would be in that space of conflict.
What
Now,
prompted us to put him down was that he was the diagnosis was definitely pancreatitis, but then he started circling around, and they felt he had a stroke or a brain tumor. So that was when we decided, because he wasn't eating, um, that it would be best to put him down.
it's as much as I can understand this or help other people understand this, I think there's something really sacred about the life and death process in the way that it's a guarantee for all of us, whether we're loving humans or whether we're loving animals, that as soon as we start to love, we start to lose. We have to remember that. You know, I call this the Die, Laugh, Love podcast because we're all going to die. And that's just a fact of life. Before we die, we should do our best to love and laugh as much as possible with everybody that we love. Okay. And that's just so important because so many of us get caught up with distractions and worries and things that don't matter, ultimately don't matter, when we should be focusing everything that we have into maintaining and capitalizing on those relationships. To know life, we must know death. That's the facts. To know love, we're going to know loss. And perhaps that process is what makes it so valuable. I'm not sure. I just know that's kind of the cycle that we're all caught up in, and we've got to make the best of it. As soon as we begin to love, we begin to lose. That's a fact. Whether we lose people to death, or interestingly, we lose people to life. And what I mean by that is imagine everyone here, imagine what our spirits go through when they transition to death. I always use that analogy of the one-way mirror that we see in a cop show. We're on the side of the suspects. When we move to spirit, we're on the side of the cops. So there's that one-way sort of
Yeah.
visibility or sensitivity in that manner. But anybody that would consider themselves an empathetic person, somebody of empathy, let's have empathy for our dead, whether it's spirit of humans or spirit of animals. When I have empathy for my grandmother in spirit, imagine this, and this is such a foreign concept because we don't talk about this enough. What do we go through when we pass? We go through a life review. Humans have a lot to go through. They have a lot to learn from. They have a lot to heal from. Do pets go through that? Possibly, but I don't think nearly to the degree that humans go through it. But I think it's important to empathize for those that we lose to spirit because the reverse is true. They've lost us to life. If we're on vacation, and that's what I really truly believe our temporary life is a vacation, when we move to spirit, we go home. There's a certain disconnect from there because they're not embodied. They can't hug us. They can be with us in spirit, but they don't have the bodies to have the cheeseburgers or to hold us close. So there is a degree of discontent through that process. So let's have empathy for our dead and take care of ourselves through that. So when we grieve and we do our best to grieve, which will be the worst experiences that we go through, when we participate in grieving in a healthy way, we're doing the best that we can for the people that are still observing us and the spirits, those souls that are still observing us. This whole past week, I have been really considering what the word pet means. I've been considering what the word pet means. Here's why. When I hear the word pet, I consider, you know, most classically cats and dogs. But I want to tell folks about my parents. When I was a kid, my parents, they were the youngest kids of two farming families. And my parents had, when I was a kid, bought a little house and like 1 acre of land. So they had the backyard farm, meaning, you know, they had the electric fence. My parents had pigs. You know, my parents had a couple of cows. Oh, my dad would come home from work and he would walk out back to do chores and he could call the cows by name. My parents knew their cows by name. The cows would respond by name. And I can remember my mom absolutely breaking down when those cows had to be loaded in the wagon to go to the butcher,
Yeah.
to go be slaughtered and processed, harvested in that way. My parents, after that, never had cows again,
Yeah. I don't blame them.
right? Because they became
Oh
pets.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
there
They're
is a
family.
difference. They're family. There's a difference between livestock and pets. Interestingly, I have a set of good friends. This is kind of a foreign concept to me, but I appreciate it for them. they have chickens that are like their family.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I look at a chicken and I kind of see a lizard with feathers. I have a disconnect there, but they're family to them. So
Yeah.
there's that loving bond that they had developed. I have really been sitting with what the word pet means, and here's why. I think, you know, talking to human spirits makes all the sense for most of us in the world. Channeling animals and pets, I think, gives us a whole lot to consider. And one of those things to consider is this: we live in a really human centric world. And a lot of it comes from Christianity, religion. When you hear in Genesis that God put all the herbs and plants and animals on the earth for our use, you know, it kind of puts us at the top of the pyramid and we think we can dispose of everything. I think a lot of people can relate to how inappropriately and imbalanced we are in this world in terms of our relationship with the natural world and with animals and resources and all of that. We live in a very human centric reality, and that is not our reality whatsoever. So it's that difference between being at the top of the pyramid or being part of the web. And I think for me, you know, I hear the word pet and I think, and this is a really clunky and sort of insensitive way to put it, the idea of a ward, you know, we're taking care of them, you know, like they're our responsibility. All of that is true, but it becomes something deeper for everybody who's ever had a pet because they become a member of our family. They become a member of our family. And I'm really leaning into, I didn't even want to look up the definition of pet because I wanted to science it out for myself. Companion. And what I've been experiencing with
Yeah.
the next two spirits have really shown me what a companion means.
Yeah.
Now, Pamela, I'm going to take you off spotlight and I'm going to put this back on a gallery view for folks
Okay.
because I'm going to bring forth the next one. Just remember, you did the best thing that you could. Remember, your little man with the constant cycle of the ear stuff and all of that is with
Yeah.
you. You know that they're with you,
Thank you.
and that is really part of what we're sharing here today. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. I'm going to mute you, and we're going to remove spotlight because I got a really weird thing coming, and then this is where that challenge to be outlandish comes in. Okay. Because this could end up being absolutely nothing, but this is so bizarre. Okay. I and please remember to wave your hands or unmute yourself with this, because this is bizarre. And it gets more bizarre even after this. So I have a fish here. Like, I have a fish here. Somebody who had a fish. Now, I think it might have been a goldfish. This is interesting. Now, remember what I talked about, having a sense of self. So we're going to talk to somebody here, and remember, I can't see everybody on this screen. The distinction with this fish, and this is strange, is I hear shark, shark. So we're talking about a fish that was either a shark or a fish that you called shark or sharky. So, you know, like fish, shark, I feel like this had a big energy, this spirit. So, did I see somebody wave their hands?
Well, I had a fish that I named Jaws.
You had a fish that you named Jaws. Okay, hold on. I see Linda up here. I'm going to unmute Linda. So, Elaine, thank you for this. You stay right there for me. So I saw somebody up on Linda's square going like this. Did you have a shark or did you have a did you have a literal shark or a fish with a shark name?
I had a piranha.
I'm telling you, like, you guys have to understand and appreciate where I'm coming from, that I've had a fish with me for like a week, okay? And I have to bring it to strangers. I have to bring it to you all. Okay, so hold on. Elaine, you stay with me. Am I speaking to Linda? Because I see two people up there. Who
You're
am I
speaking to Muriel.
Muriel. It's
Muriel. Okay, we're gonna determine who this is. It feels like this is a, this might be the piranha, a fish in a single tank by itself. Was it solo? Can I ask you, Elaine, was your fish solo? Okay, here we go. The next one is this. There would have been like fast energy, okay, like zippy energy. Did this fish come? And this might be the piranha because I know that sometimes goldfish or fish know that they're going to be fed and they'll come right up to the tank. I don't have much experience in the way of piranhas, but this spirit, like, did this animal know that it was going to be fed and get like
Yes.
right up there? Okay.
I used to
I,
pat,
say it again for me, Muriel.
I used to pat him on the top of his head.
Elaine, I'm sorry. This is for Muriel. Okay. Okay. So here we go. Muriel, I'm going to put you on spotlight. I'm going to put myself on spotlight. We're going to have this conversation about the fish spirit. Okay. Because this is, again, remember, I am
I know.
just as blown away by this process as everybody else. So you used to pet your animal, your fish on the head.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Little
named him
Sharky. What was your piranha's name?
Doofus.
Okay. Also, I want to tell you what I'm feeling. All right. And I think that Muriel, you're with Linda, right? Linda's over there with you. Okay. Whoever this person, you, uh, I don't know if you have undiagnosed adult ADHD. I don't know. I think
Yes.
that you might. Do you?
We think so.
We're pretty sure.
You're pretty sure? Okay. You have some squirrely energy. Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay. Because this is how I know who the person was going to be. Okay. Because I'm like in the tank observing my person. Okay. And this person's like all over. And that feels to me, and again, not a medical provider, not a mental health expert, none of that. Right. So again, letters and acronyms and diagnoses, not my business. But what it feels like to me is the undiagnosed ADHD, adult version of it. That okay. What this means, Linda, and to remember, science experiment. We're doing the science experiment here because I've been walking around with this spirit for a week, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to people with a fish. And believe me, what's coming after the fish gets weirder. It gets weirder. I know. I want to was this fish a rescue?
No.
Hold on. What did you do? Because I'm passing through a sense of gratitude, right? Of taking one sort of circumstance and making it better. Like a gratitude going from here to there. So maybe that's from like the store to at home where you gave like that in that way it would be a rescue, that sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Another question too, and I'm learning as I'm working with this spirit here with you. Remember, I was talking about the example. Well, let me just put it this way. I believe if this was a cat, he would have pissed in somebody's boots.
There was a dog.
There was okay. Was there something outside of the tank that was like not great? Somebody that would have adjusted your emotional like did you ever live with a
Grumpy
grumpy? Did you ever live with anybody that was grumpy?
at that time.
Not at that time.
Interesting.
Other times.
Other times, okay. What would have been the thing that was pissing you off when that fish was around? Was it the dog? Was what was pissing you off when that fish was around?
Or upsetting you.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. No.
You might not remember it, but there was something that was frustrating you. Maybe it was the goddamn news. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what it was.
I mean, it could be anything, I guess, but
It was a long
What
time.
I'm getting is that there was a recognition of your emotional state getting heightened.
well, I had been in a terrible accident and I was in a lot of pain.
So there would have been
So I don't,
something that would have, yes, okay. So there's that. All right. Thank you for not flushing me down the toilet. I don't know how this spirit or this animal moved on. I don't know what you did to put that animal to rest in any way, but I can guarantee you, you did not flush the piranha down the toilet.
I buried it.
You, okay, see?
I went into work and I was unconsolable. I was crying. And people were laughing at me because I was crying over the fact that a fish died. I said, well, he was my pet. I had many other pets at the time, but he was one of them.
When I was talking about this at the beginning, how these experiences are learning experiences for me, like I am learning and not being trained by anybody. I don't have a human mentor. This fish, like you gotta understand the absolute wild perplexity that I've been going through for the past week, going, I have a fish with me. I have a fish with me, and a shark, right? And the person is like got ADHD. Okay, so you were unconsolable. That means you developed love for this animal, Linda. Okay, so in that same way that I used that cat example, okay, it brought that spirit and transformed them into a soul. Now I've got an interesting experiment for everybody here. I've been experiencing that sort of feeling of, okay, when we love an animal, we bring it to this place. We bring it to this place. It's like it's a relationship of reciprocity, you know, because when we have pets and companions, whether they're humans or fish or chickens or dogs or cats, they get something from us and we get something from them. That's the nature of relationship. That is a beautiful thing. You have brought this animal to that sense of evolution. Now, that's what I've learned kind of on the streets in this sort of school of hard knocks where I'm teaching myself this stuff just through experience. I stumbled upon a book talking about spirits and all of that. And that book explained everything that I was just talking about. That and I'm sort of I don't lean into woo when I do this. I try to keep everything that I do as down to earth as possible. I don't like the woo. So I'm going to start to talk with some like woo language. Not great, but I have to. There's a school of thought that those animals that I would have referred to as like the feral cat are kind of like 2D creatures. We're 3D creatures, like we're three-dimensional creatures. Our souls are 3D, that you take a 2D animal or a creature, love it, and you evolve it into 3D. I can't confirm this, but it's interesting that that school of thought that I bumped into also said that that's kind of how we all started out. So the idea that we could have been dogs, or we could have been cows, or we could have been something a long time ago that was loved, and that's kind of where like our basis of our soul evolution started. So then interestingly, people that we meet, and I just want to like have fun with this. You know, when you're in the grocery store going, that son of a bitch, a rooster, or was that son of a bitch, a cat? Like, you know, having fun like that, because we don't know how that works, right? We won't really know until we move on to the other side. But this experiment that even today's episode is what we're working through is that there might be some basis of truth to that. Okay, so, and what I'm being called to talk about is the idea of Native American tribes really seeing themselves as like the turtle clan or the bear clan. And there might be, and again, because I'm not part of those traditions, there might be some truth to that.
Yeah.
So again, this is all meant to make us feel, meant to make us think. I
Yeah.
do want to let you know that there is this connection that is still going on. Okay. And can I ask you, do you have a picture, Muriel, of this like animal up? Do you have a picture of this fish?
No, because I've moved a few times, and no, I don't know that I ever had a picture of that fish. But I've had,
That's okay.
at the same time I had the fish, I also had 2 dogs, 3 cats, a bird, probably even a turtle. I don't know, but I've always had pets until now.
Until now. Gotcha. Out of all of, and this is an important thing too for my process, I kind of talk about having a spirit with me that facilitates this. So when I sit down to produce the next episode, I'm going to get, okay, this is what we're going to talk about next week. And I just trust that information. So this is why he's been with me for a week, because this angelic being that helps me do what I do, and I believe all mediums have a facilitator in that way. There's a reason why this fish was brought forth. Because it's, yes, it's for you to show you that there's still that connection. Absolutely. You deserve that as a companion to this animal. But people need to know that the world is far stranger and far more beautiful than we'd ever really be taught.
Mm.
So remember
Yes.
that. Remember that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And thank you for taking care of Doofus.
Thank you.
I can relate to being a doofus.
It was-
So thank you for taking care of Doofus. Okay.
Okay.
And I promised it to get weirder. So I'm going to take you off spotlight. I'm going to take me off spotlight because the next one is very peculiar, even more peculiar than a fish. Okay. All right. So let me get control of myself here. So okay. But remember, there were reasons why I was thinking about pet, and a reason turning it into that idea of a companion, and really sitting with and meditating, thinking about what the word companion means, and pet, and the relationships that, what we get out and what they get out of us. So we started out with bear. Then we have doofus. Okay. This is weird. This is, again, bizarre for a guy that's never done this before. And when this comes to me, I have to go like, what is going on here? Okay. So we've talked to a cat, we've talked to a fish. The next one is a tree. A tree. So here we go. I'm looking for an ancestral home, a tree. Somebody who would have had a tree. It feels like multi-generation, perhaps grandmother, parent, child. Here is the definition of this. So I need everybody here who would have had a tree at their home, their childhood home, that they would have played around, they would have played on. And remember what we've gone through so far, perhaps you would have even named the tree. Okay, perhaps the tree would have had a name. The distinguishing factor with this, and this is, I think, somebody who might be sort of very earthy or pagan from a very young age, or might have had a tree out in front of their home. The message that I'm getting, and this is where I'm kind of needing to translate it and decipher it. And this is a very deep, sincere, sort of sad message. I'm sorry I couldn't save your sister. So there's somebody, I believe, who would have had a sister who's passed or had a very significant illness. I believe you would have had a sister that you would have played around a tree with, like a family tree. Anybody here have a family tree? Anybody here has lost a sister? Anybody here play on a tree as a kid? Anybody here have a sister that would have suffered or passed? Did you play on a tree, around a tree, in a tree, tire swing, decorate the tree? as a child. So start there. Anybody lost a sister? Anybody here talking to trees? That is a very significant thing. Okay.
I don't know if nobody else does anything. I might have something.
Okay. Is that you, Rachel?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So could you put your video on if you don't mind for me, please? See your face.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Have you lost a sister?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you play on a tree? With a tree, decorate a tree, have a family tree?
It wasn't I wouldn't say it was a family tree, but there was a willow tree in front of our house that we played on, and yeah, we played all around it, and I made bracelets. I do love trees. I talk to trees. There's trees that I love. There's a willow tree actually not far from here that I'm in love with.
Okay, I'm kind of
Yeah, I
freaking out.
love.
Hold on. I'm kind of freaking out. Hold on, hold on. I'm kind of freaking out. Here's why. Because when I got that message from the tree, right? So this is again education because I thought it was a willow tree. Here's why. The reason being is that when I heard, I'm sorry I couldn't save your sister, I was like, are you talking about your medicine? And then I go immediately to what tree has medicine? So you've lost a sister. Can I ask you, what is like? We get aspirin from Willow. We get aspirin from Willow. So did your sister pass from heart stuff or anything that aspirin could have helped from?
No, no, she died from substance abuse. She had cirrhosis of the liver.
Okay. You decorated this tree.
I used the leaves to make bracelets and anklets and like crowns for me and all my siblings. And we used to play in it outside quite a lot. And I just love doing that. I really enjoyed doing it. And we would dance and sing around it. I remember one year it iced all around the bottom of it. And me and one of my other sisters, like, you know, like we're ice skating around it and like singing. And yeah, we used to, did nobody else talk to trees? Because yeah, I do.
I gotta let you know that they're entities, and I think,
Yeah.
and this is really important because I don't think that we turn them into souls. I think that they have consciousness outside of humans, and I
Mhm.
really believe that. I have a very powerful experience where I was walking through the forest. I walked by an ash tree, and I heard the way that I hear things. Are you going to hurt me like the others?
Mm.
And I was like, whoa, that entity, that spirit recognized my energetic signature as a human walking around that field. And now, Vermont, New Hampshire, at one point were 98% fields because all the trees were cut down for sheep and livestock and what have you. A lot of my genetic and ancestral connection is of the Druids and the Celts. So, like the Northern European, I have, and I've never shared this with anybody. I believe that my ancient ancestors could be separated by vast distances, put a hand on a tree, and speak to somebody else somewhere else that also had a hand on the tree, that they could communicate through trees. I felt that for so long. And then all of this science about the mycelium network and how they communicate and they bring, like mother trees give, they will give more energy to their own saplings around them versus other trees. I have had this tree with me, and something that I'm doing, and I think there's a reason why this has happened to me, is I'm currently working on an oracle deck of trees where I am going out into the woods and I am sitting with pine, and cedar and tamarack and asking them, what's the message that you want to share with humans?
Yeah.
This tree is sorry that it couldn't save your sister. Now, whether you prayed to that spirit as an entity, whether that spirit has been with you because it developed a sense of love and connection and has just followed you. So I'm not sure if you know this, Rachel, or can speak to this. Is that tree past? Do you know if that tree's
Yeah, it's
dead
not
or if
there.
that
It's not there. I've driven by that house. But yeah, a lot of bad things happened in that house. That is a very dark place, except for the tree was one thing that we enjoyed. We got to play and have fun with it. And then we would
and I
be like
asked
fairy princesses. We would be fairy princesses, you know, with our, yeah, anklets and bracelets and, you know, crowns. It had beautiful leaves.
I need everybody to just pause and consider this again because we're so human centric. We all walk around thinking that we're the most intelligent life form in the universe. We
Right.
think that we're the only spirit in the world of spirit. Let me be the one to tell you that the world of spirit is as vast and complicated as the world of the physical. We have animals and birds and trees and fish and all sorts of different life forms. The world of spirit is as vast and complicated as this world. That also includes cats and fish and trees. Rachel, I've got to ask you, did you name the tree at all?
Oh, I don't remember, Josh. That was so long ago. I don't remember giving it a name, but you know, I did love it. I did, I know. Yeah, I love trees. Tabitha, I saw made a message. I talk to trees too. There's one not far from here, like I said. I have a relationship with that tree. Yeah.
So here is something that I want to share with everybody again, because I think everybody can relate to this. Everybody, I think, either appreciates trees, loves trees, what have you. You can't live without trees in your home. Everything around you is wood and medicine and all of that. Lee, I mean, trees are just a source of nourishment with apples. I mean, come on now, trees are such an indelible part of our existence. I want to tell everybody about, and this was one of the things that I feel why this tree spirit would come forth. But there's a practice, and I'm not sure where he picked it up. My husband, who's been into this stuff far longer than me, he picked up a practice that I have picked up. And he has a practice, and I believe it's related to the Druidic Celtic philosophies or traditions. The Druidic stuff is interesting because we know very little about the Druids except that they worked with oaks and trees and what have you. But there's very little in the historical record about Druids. A lot about the Celtic culture that spanned, you know, France and Germany, and it's not just isolated to the British Isles or the Scottish and Irish Isles, but the practice that I found so beneficial is having what is called a burden tree. To have a burden tree, Burden, to have a tree that you go to and you sit with and you let have your burdens, to sit at the base of it and let it all out. Now, one of the things that we can look at just from a scientific place is that trees benefit from our waste. We benefit from the waste of trees. Trees breathe in carbon dioxide. We breathe in their oxygen. So there is. Goodbye, Elaine. Thank you for being here. Make sure you say hi to Jaws. Elaine is saying goodbye with the chat. That when we sit with a tree, our relationship is reciprocal in that way, and that they eat our carbon dioxide, we eat their oxygen in that way. Breathe in, breathe out. I do think that trees have an amazing ability for us to sit with them and, you know, think of the bioelectromagnetic field that we emit as a living creature that would be called an aura. Think about expelling the waste of your emotions and your heartaches and your turmoils. to go out. They call it forest bathing. I mean, there's so much in science about the benefit of nature and trees. I know that as much as we love, we lose. We're all part of nature. We have that relationship with nature. I'm going to encourage everybody, if you can, get out to the woods, get out to the parks, get out where there's a tree. I am a big believer in making offerings to our loved ones in spirit. I go through quite a bit of maple syrup. So making offerings to trees for the benefit of them. I'm going to invite everybody to find a tree, sit with a tree, and give it your burdens. I think that you'll feel better for it. And I want you to use that as an experiment in terms of sitting with that and opening yourself up and being receptive to what you'd be feeling. Opening yourself up and being receptive to what you'd be feeling. Because I do believe everybody in that way can receive messages. I cannot wait. I'm a creative person, so I have multiple projects going at once. And I might have a little bit of Muriel's adult undiagnosed ADHD when it comes to that. But I am absolutely going to be releasing a oracle deck of trees and the messages that these local trees around me want to give humans. So be on the lookout for that, but go out, develop that relationship. Everybody should have a burden tree, and everybody should offer a token of gratitude. There's so much to be said about traditional practices, ancient traditional practices of tying ribbons onto trees, tying bells onto trees, giving trees items. I mean, in so many indigenous and pagan cultures, we see a very distinct relationship with trees. I'm going to encourage everybody in their own way to get back to them. Okay, so we're just going to call your tree, Rachel, Willow.
I love
Okay.
that. Isn't that great?
Willow.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have Bear, Doofus, and Willow. So Sue, maybe that's a discussion. Sue just popped up in chat. Fairy trees, you could call them that. Absolutely. The word fairy is as loaded as the word angel. Not going to get into that today, Sue, but yes, let's just say yes. Okay. That for me, and the way that I interpret the world, there's very specific definitions that I have for the term elemental, for the term fairy, for the term land spirit. Elemental, fairy, and land spirit, they're all different. And I love that, Rachel. Rachel says, does everyone remember The Giving Tree? That's a wonderful book. So consider for a moment that you're not going to do anything to the tree by going and giving your heartache to it. As we're talking about love leading to loss, every single person who has a loving relationship will know grief in that way. Grief is as universal to humans as breathing. Grief is as universal to humans as trees. Perhaps there's a deeper connection and a deeper relationship that we can build through there. So, Rachel, thank you for being here and bringing that Willow energy with you. I want to thank Randy for popping in and volunteering that information about Bear. Pamela, thank you for being here with Bear. Muriel, thank you for being here with Doofus and loving your piranha and giving your piranha pets. That is an amazing story. And I want to remind everybody here that, again, it's my honor, my duty, my privilege, my joy to do this work and to step into this place. And I couldn't do it without you. So everybody who watches this after is going to benefit from that relationship, from that information that we have with our companions. And we ultimately get back to that word because I thought this was going to be the pet episode until the tree popped in. And I've never thought of a tree being a pet. You could look at cultures that work with bonsais, those sorts of, those sorts of energies. So the idea of it turning from pet to companion and giving me that opportunity to learn from that, I get that from that tree. So Rachel, in that way that you've developed this relationship with this tree, and this tree is sorry that they couldn't save your sister, I want you to know that that tree is with you and able for you to communicate. So I would, if I would print out a picture of a willow tree. I would, again, in the same way that we put up pictures of our animals on our altars with our family members, trees can become part of our family as well.
I think I might have a picture of it. I'll have to look. I only have a few pictures from that time period.
But if you have a
One
picture of
the
that tree, I would definitely put that in a special place like an altar.
house. Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yo, no, thank you. Really, truly, 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 thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. I will see you all next Sunday at 3 p.m. Remember, die, laugh, love. We're all gonna die, like Doofus, Willow, Bear. While we're here, while we're on vacation, live and laugh and love as much as you can. Take care of yourself, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.